All right, welcome back to Terra Invicta, and what better way to kick off than with a defensive battle? Victor 56, consisting of a dreadnought, 2 monitors, a frigate, a corvette, and 2 gunships, is heading for LMO-1 Mars Station. This is a different beast than Tereshkova back on Earth. If we have a look at LMO-1 Mars Station, you'll see that this thing has 3 layered defense arrays and a point defense array. It's also protected by Echo 12, our Mars fleet, which numerically is actually larger than the force that has been fighting to defend Earth. This is a big one. 9 human ships and 3 defensive stations against 1 Xenos force. Bring it on. Okay, 9 on 7 with 3 extra defense arrays. We will hide behind the station for sure, 100%. Because that's a lot of firepower, that's a lot of point defense. In terms of weapons, ooh, that dreadnought's a problem. That's a laser boat. That's going to be hard to kill with torpedoes. In fact, 2 of these ships, the Lonely Rogue and the Resolute Fate, are laser boats. The Seeing Star is going to be easy to kill with torpedoes. It's a torpedo boat. Plasma boat. Cresting Wave has no point defense, 1 torpedo per ship. Gunships, laser boats, but still 1 torpedo per ship, probably enough. So we have a collection of vessels that can be killed in 1 shot, basically everything in the bottom half of the order. In fact, everything except for the top 2 can probably be killed in like 1 torpedo fired from every tube in the fleet at once. And then these ones, they're going to be harder. We might get 1 by dumping a lot of our remaining torpedoes. We'll probably go for the dreadnought. And then there's a chance we end up having to kill the monitor some other way. But you know what? That's all theory crafting. Reality eats theory for breakfast. Let's go. All right, let's look at the alien formation we've got. Okay, for the moment, the alien formation is relatively clean, but I'm guessing they're going to split up. And based on, as much as I theory crafted at the start, how they split up is going to determine how I allocate my torpedoes. The question here is not survivability, it's literally, it's ordnance allocation. That's basically the question here. So what I'm going to want is for them to split up. Once they do, we're going to want to allocate against the easy targets first, basically. If they stick together, I have a problem. I'm hoping that most of their torpedoes, which will smash straight through our forward armor, I'm hoping most of those are going to go straight into the layered defense arrays. But we will see. Unfortunately, as you can see, there was a vessel being produced in the shipyard that was not ready in time for this fight. Such is life. All right, they're starting to maneuver. We'll let them hit maneuver nodes 1, and then we'll fire. Okay. What's our ranges like? Ranges are, actually no, I scratched that. Ranges are probably too far still. Now we're talking. Are you split up enough? Not sure you are. Let's actually, no, you're fast, so 1 torpedo. Okay. Everyone's missiles are away. Are you going to break up? You sort of are. 1 torpedo. 1 torpedo. 1 torpedo. 1 torpedo. Now, do I even try and override the Resolute Fate? Like, the thing is going to be an absolute monster in terms of point defense potential. I'm not sure I even try. I think we go 1 more torpedo into the Seeing Star, actually. And then I think we turn off the bays. And then see where we're going to need to allocate more. Only going to hold them on for a moment. Looks like there was some jamming. But I basically need data on how my torpedoes are going to perform first. Slow things down. We might lose some ships here. One of our escorts is taking hits, but its torpedo bays are already empty. All right, we've got a bunch of torpedoes in the air. I think he's dead. He's definitely dead. He's effectively dead. All right, everyone's torpedo bays are coming back on because we know what we've killed and we know what we haven't. There might be a simpler way to do this, but these are the controls that I know for avoidance of all doubt. Okay, all ships. Priority target. Cresting wave. Priority target. Lonely rogue. Okay, that's a bunch of torpedoes in the air. The question is there any point firing torpedoes against the Resolute Fate? We'll go one more volley with anyone who's got anything left here. One more volley against everyone who's got anything left here. And then see what effect, if any, we can have. That looks promising. All right, Lonely Rogue looks dead in space. And that's nowhere near enough firepower to deal with that dreadnought. However, we might have options. And as silly as this might sound, the option might be this. Looks like we do have the iron shards coming up from behind. What's the... Looks like I missed a ship in my torpedo allocation. And it's firing plasma, which is unfortunate. But I think that combined with the fact we have a layered defense array, I think we might be able to kill this thing with DACA. And if we can't kill it with DACA, we might be able to kill it with more extreme measures. A non-refundable. Do I think this is going to die without this? I'm not sure. We are A10ing the shit out of the thing. Okay, we missed the ram. Let's swap around. It's flying by the station. It's taking railgun rounds. That dreadnought is suffering, man. It is suffering. It's being tickled. It's drifting. And he's drifting off into the wilderness too. All right, we're almost at the auto-resolve point, I think. Might hit it now. Because at this point, it's the slow dance. It's 40 millimeters versus close-range lasers, and I don't want to be here for half an hour. Victory for Project Exodus. Resolute Fate destroyed. Well, the ship was by the time we hit auto-resolve, the ship had no engines and no weapons, so I'm not surprised. Eventually, we would have crawled up to it and spent 20 minutes. But burning through the hull with 40mm. Lonely Rogue destroyed, Singing Star destroyed, Iron Shards destroyed, Cresting Wave destroyed, Endless Dusk and Jade Tide destroyed. Only 1.3 exotics. What a rip. I don't care. Project Exodus lost 3 ships. The aliens lost 6 ships. I consider that a win. Welcome, once again, to Mars. Oh, and look, there's a disabled monitor that's going to be floating there forever. It has 52 kps. We could kill it. That would generate some hate. So I'm wondering if we just let that fly back home as a warning to all those who come after. Yeah, it had 2 64cm. This is the one that would have had to come up against us at close range to kill us. We would have had the 40 mils. It had 2 short-range lasers left. I think we would have won, and I think the auto-resolved agreed. I'll count that as a win. New ships. Arriving, 1 new ship arriving in 13 days. We'll repair the rest, and we'll mostly make our losses good. But I think, look at the aliens, they're down to 77 vessels, and nothing is currently en route to Mars. So we have all the time that we need to rebuild. There we go. Fission pulse drives, which means we've started to go a bit more nuclear this episode already. Let me show you what I mean. Let me introduce you to the Preparation Block 5, the successor to the old Block 4s, 4As and 4Bs, which is our same old monitor, except there's been a weapon change. We've gone from the Artemis to the Athena. The Athena is a torpedo, just like the Artemis. The difference is it's got a nuclear engine rather than a chemical one. And what that translates into is the same number of torpedoes per magazine, 6 shots per, not that much more cost, the same targeting range, and less acceleration because the torpedo's heavier. Although apparently not, because the launcher itself is the same. So the torpedo does not accelerate as quickly, but it's got 50% more delta V, and it hits like a truck, as in it hits 3 times harder. So 1 Athena is going to hit with the destructive potential of 3 Artemis torpedoes. So, fantastic. Thank you, Humanity First. Every little bit helps with your bunch of escorts and a couple of corvettes. The corvettes rocking laser cannons and autocannons. Clearly enough killing power for government work. All right, here she is, the GDI of Task Force Ion. As I said, this ship is a barely mobile, massive green arc laser cannon. And its job is environmental policy. What I've done is because I believe, my understanding is lasers do not cause collateral damage in orbital bombardment. Mass drivers shooting big hunks of metal at the Earth absolutely does collateral damage. So we won't be doing that unless we're playing like a Humanity First run and they really deserve it. In this run, we're going to be sticking to lasers. What I'm doing is targeting alien flora outbreaks around the world. The first ones we're engaging will be in Africa. I'm starting in Zimbabwe, but I'll work all the way through North Africa. We might target the megafauna if it's not already dead. But yeah, there's a lot of, as you can see, outbreaks around the place. This is the one we'll destroy first. But we'll just scroll through the target list, zapping all of this alien flora with the laser. There you are. You can see the bombardment is playing out. We'll deal with that in a moment.
Lending my expertise.
So yeah, Giant Orbital Gun is available. So Giant Orbital Gun will be used as a global environmentalism policy tool in order to clear up those alien flora. The next point we want to talk about is the assault carrier, because this was discussed in the comments after last episode, and we have 2 basic choices insofar as the assault carriers that are incoming against Earth go. Where is the first assault carrier fleet? Is it this one? There's a couple. There we are. Okay, first assault carrier is arriving in September. We can either try and shoot it down, which is probably possible, especially if we throw sufficiently powerful weapons at it. The strength of that is it keeps the carrier off Earth and it gets us exotics. The downside is hate, and it doesn't get the aliens on Earth. Why might that be a disadvantage? If we're able to eliminate the last Hydra on Earth, and eventually we go to war with the aliens and we secure orbit, there's no way for more Hydra. My understanding is there'll be no way for more Hydra to reach Earth. Great. In an ordinary playthrough, fantastic. But if our goal is we want to be able to have our factions capture a live Hydra for the Resistance, for example, or Humanity First to do the same, or the Academy or whatnot, we're going to need a supply of Hydra for them to hunt down. If an assault carrier lands, my understanding is from that point on, a couple more Hydra arrive and it becomes easier for them to recruit. Maybe a long-term problem for Earth, but also a critical resource if we want to keep the other factions going. So I'm tempted to hold on to the defensive stance just a little bit longer, let the assault carrier land, deal with the army, don't take the hate, and then close the skies against future waves of carriers once we know that there are going to be some Hydra, preferably the occasional one with low security values, that the other factions can potentially hunt down. All right, I want to breathe for a moment and give a couple of updates because we've kind of been racing through it. It is May 2030, and we've just had another victory for the proxy warfare approach. I didn't get voiceover at the time, but I'll just flash up the results of a battle that just happened in orbit now. So yeah, this is what's left of the Humanity First Fleet. It's not much. It looks like they had some laser torpedo boats that survived, very heavily damaged, and the aliens will probably come for them. But good on them. What this means is that if we look at an update in terms of factions and their objectives, we've seen some progress. The Resistance has captured a Hydra, because their objective is now communicate with the captured Hydra, which means they've grabbed one and have it in a cell somewhere. So fantastic. It's not just us. Humanity First hasn't captured a Hydra. They need to research Hydra containment first and then find one. But they do have a research alien technology unlocked, which means that they've won a battle against the aliens and can now proceed with that. In order to get either of these two to proceed with their story missions all the way, which I don't think is incompatible with us as Exodus and probably would be good for us, we need both factions, or at least one faction, to be able to do both. Both salvage alien technology, which requires winning and surviving a battle against alien ships, not just killing them with anti-orbital defenses, the way most of them have been a lot of the time so far, or in defensive fights that they then lose their ships in, and to capture a Hydra. So, we're going to do two things. The one is we're going to give them a little bit more of a leg up. I'm going to talk to Humanity First next turn, and I'm going to trade them some recently developed technology, because I've been cooking. If we look at our ship designer, what we're looking for is anything in the Sunrise class. There we are. This will do. Let's have a look at the Super Sunrise. So there's two things that have changed about the Super Sunrise. The first is we have a new engine, the Orion Drive. This is from Shape Nuclear Propulsion. This is where you're dropping nukes behind your vessel in order to make it go. It's not great for KPS, but it gives us a little bit more combat acceleration. We're up to 3/4 of a G acceleration in combat. Not bad, even if we don't have much fuel, with the fuel being nuclear bombs. The big thing that's changed is the weapon set. If you go pulse nuclear propulsion, and you also go advanced missiles, you can get these things, the shaped nuclear line of torpedoes. This is the Olympus, the first version. The Olympus operating in Olympus, you lose access to even more torpedoes than your standard conventional torpedoes, but you gain a nuclear warhead, and specifically a shaped nuclear warhead. What that means is you have a shit ton of damage, but also that the missile will detonate before hitting its target. The nuke is being designed in such a way that it directs the vast majority of the energy from the detonation in a narrow cone, in this case 0.2 degrees. So they detonate before hitting the target. That means two things. One, if they detonate, they're not likely to send off the rest of the salvo, which is obviously great. You don't want one nuke to destroy all the other nukes you're firing. The other thing is, even if they're intercepted early, that can cause them to detonate, and if they're within their 93-kilometer range in this case, they'll still do some damage. Not contact damage, but they'll still do some damage. So this is a massive increase to the amount of firepower our missile ships can do. And I think Humanity First can do with that technology. It also means we have to presume that we will be producing literally 1,000 plus nukes a month once the war really gets started, if we keep using this kind of ordnance between what we're dropping out of our engines and what we're firing out of our tubes. But you know what? Mass-producing nuclear warheads never ended badly for anyone. All right, there's a notification. We have a combat in Mars orbit. Looks like a bombardment fleet, whatnot, has arrived. We have 4 monitors upgraded with nuclear munitions, but they're going to have very, very limited magazine depth. So this one's going to take our principle of target selection and take it to the extreme. New battleships that I'm building will have much deeper magazines. But this one's going to be a close run thing, I think. What have we got? We have a mag laser battleship in the 20,000 ton class. Another laser mag, so 2 ships in the 20,000-ton battleship class, a laser boat, the Golden Void Sailor. That's not going to be a priority missile target. In fact, I hope it breaks away from the rest of the fleet. And then hopefully we can auto-resolve it with 40 mils because it's got limited offensive capability. And then the Corvette has 1 laser cannon, 1 light mag battery. Okay. I guess just out of curiosity, we will try the auto-resolve. Blam. All right. Auto-resolve likes nukes, apparently. 2 exotics, double promotion. I'm tempted to try that manually just to see how effective those things are in person, but wow. Blap. All right, so here we go for a simulated test. We have three boats rocking the nuclear torpedoes and the Athena providing a little more magazine depth. The Void Sailor is turning off to one side. That's fine. What I think we do is go 1 torpedo. What we should have selected first is one of the nuke boats. Because the most important thing everyone will target on this priority target is to count the nuclear salvos. So I want 1 torpedo, 2 torpedoes, 2 torpedoes, and then the Athenas and whatnot that have been mostly... Let's let the jamming resolve. Yep, that's the destruction. Okay, we've got destruction on the Corvette. The only question is, will we have enough left in the bank to take out both of these? I'll slow this right down. We've already got shape charge nuclear detonations. This is what I'm talking about. This is the magic of the shape torpedo. Even if they're hit by point defense, they don't have to physically hit the ship. They can detonate early. I believe the maximum distance where you get some damage out of them is 96 kilometers from a hit. And the closer they get, the more of their damage they do. So we've got these shape charge wrecking this ship. Resplendent Singularity is dead. And then here you are, more detonations on the Cold Void. And then you had some direct hits. So yeah, apparently it does work. We're now back in the prime timeline. After the auto-resolve, I'll send them back to the station. And yeah, okay, nuclear torpedoes are great. I'm a bit nervous about the limited magazine depth on the monitors. But if you look at the versions on the battleships that we're building instead, ship classes, the Super Sunrise. On the Super Sunrise, because it has the double magazines, we'll be bringing... No, triple magazine, sorry. Because we have triple magazine, it'll be 10 nukes per tube, not 4. So significantly greater firepower coming to the table. And that's with a heat sink that we could possibly get rid of if we needed even more nukes. Going to want a tier 3 targeting computer, I think. But that's some punch. Even the auto-resolve thinks this is 339 combat power. And trust me, it's not Delta V combat power. So on the assumption that we're going to be letting an assault carrier land, that still puts us in a bit of a difficult position because it's now September 2030, and I think we need to talk a little bit of near-term strategy. The alien construction rate has massively increased. We're now looking at a situation where the aliens are producing, I think, maybe 50 ships a year, 50, 60 ships a year, and if it wasn't for the ships they were losing, this would be spiraling more and more. So sitting under the radar has its trade-offs. My economy is essentially locked. I can't scale beyond the point that I'm currently at. I can't build up ships, and most importantly, I can't scale up my spaceborne economy. I can't do more space-based research because of this MC limit. So assuming we want to keep fighting the way we are, we have to sort of limit our ability to grow. And we've been sitting at mostly static on the space economy for a couple of years at this point, stockpiling resources and researching. Not necessarily a bad thing, but there's a cost to doing so. The longer we wait, the more alien ships are developed. And it's becoming clear to Exodus that we're going to need to fight eventually because we're going to want to take the exotics that their ships and hopefully their bases are made out of. So we're going to have to fight eventually, even if it's not this assault carrier. So I've turned my attention to 2 things. What am I going to need to fight more directly so we can start scaling our space economy and doing those things like setting up those colonies on Mars and eventually the Jupiter system and on Mercury so we can do our space-based research and test more drives and ramp up the research to where we're going to need it to be. I think we need a couple of components. So I'm working towards them in turn. We need a better engine. So terawatt gas core fission reactor, that high-end fission research path, that's in progress. Specifically, I want an engine with enough thrust that we can reliably catch the aliens, run them down and engage them in battles, at least in orbital battles, even when they don't want to be in them. That's goal 1. Goal 2 is we need better armor. To get that, we need diamondoids, which we're working towards. We're grabbing molecular assemblers and then diamondoids. And then in order to get the actual adamantane armor, which is the armor we're going to want, this one, we're also going to need improved shipbuilding techniques. That will need next generation aerospace. So a lot of material science research has to be done. Next generation aerospace to improve shipbuilding techniques, that'll get us our armor. The other thing I want is better weapons in 2 respects. The lasers are okay, but we're probably going to want improved coil guns, which we're working towards. Coil guns require superconducting magnets. So working towards these. Why would I want coil guns? Well, normally that'd be my primary offensive weapon. In this playthrough, apparently missiles have become our primary offensive weapons. Coil guns are important, however, because they throw out a lot of metal into space that distracts enemy point defense. So my theory is that if we can combine improved coil gun cannons and batteries with missiles, we'll have much more chance of getting our nukes through. We also want better nukes. If I go shape charge nuclear torpedoes, there is a whole tree of the things. This is all new to me. I've never used them before. We are currently at here, the Olympus, the tier 1, the Olympus. We can go to 87% chance we can go to the next one, Acheron torpedoes, if we also get heavy pulse propulsion, which is a version of the Orion drive, except instead of dropping normal nukes behind your ship, you're now dropping hydrogen bombs behind your ships in the megaton range. So exciting. That would get us Tartarus torpedoes. Acheron torpedoes and eventually Tartarus torpedoes. These things have a blast cone fall-off distance. So the Olympus is 90 kilometers. They do some damage. These things do some damage at 150 kilometers, which is fantastic because it means that even if PD is intercepting them relatively early in the PD range bracket, they're still going to do damage. So my belief is if we can combine Acherons or Tartarus torpedoes with coil guns, we'll have more success offensively. We're probably also going to want larger ship designs, which again comes back to, you guessed it, improved shipbuilding techniques. So better weapons, better armor, better propulsion. The other thing we're going to want, and we're already working on it, is the tier 3 habitations, colony habs and ring habs, so that we have the ability to go to tier 3 on our orbitals and tier 3 on our planetary installations. Both so we can defend them better within the same rough MC allotment, but also so we have access to tier 3 buildings and because it's just MC efficient. So tier 3 habs very much on the way. We're not going to be able to hit the population targets we want to hit for Mercury, Mars, etc. without access to tier 3 bases. So here's Mercury, and on Mercury we have a problem, and it's going to get even worse if we start an open shooting war with the aliens, whether that's by shooting down assault carriers or just generally getting more aggressive. Mercury, unlike Mars and Earth, does not have a defense fleet. Not yet. And it's hard to build a good one because it receives far more frequent visits. Fallback Station has received a couple of visits from the aliens, and while it's building ships right now, there's no guarantee that those battleships will survive to be constructed. What we need to be able to defend, and this logic also applies to Ceres and to a lesser extent Mars, is the ability to make sure that no matter what the aliens do to the shipyard station in orbit, we have the capacity to hold that planetary body. Because these mines, long term, are just too important. They're too important to leave to chance. So even little automated bases, they're not going just yet, they will. But these have taken a lot of bombardment damage. What the aliens have started doing is bombarding from high altitude, where our lasers, our tier 2 lasers, are just not that effective. The plan, I think, is actually to build a bunch of level 1, because I'm not using a lot of these modules. I'm spamming out on Mercury, and I'll do the same thing on Ceres and to an extent Mars, an obscene number of these little tier 1 space stocks. They only cost 0.3 cash, 1 water, and 1 volatile each to maintain per month. So I'm happy to span out 30, 40 of these things across the entire empire. They cost basically nothing. And while they will never, in an economical amount of time, produce a significant warship like a battleship or anything, they can produce escorts relatively quickly, which is where something like this might come in. This is the militia class. The militia class is very, very simple. It is an Orion drive with 4 propellant, giving it a total cruise delta V of 12 kps, 2 Olympus torpedo bays, no defenses, other than 12 forward armor, no side armor, a magazine, and a Tier 2 targeting computer. Tier 3 targeting computers being a high priority for us. This thing is cheap. Is this the most efficient MC to combat power vessel ever? No, not at all. Battleships with deep magazines and self-defend capability are far more effective use of 3 mission control than this is of 1. But they can be produced really quickly in Tier 1 shipyards on the planets, and then they have enough acceleration and thrust to launch themselves from the surface into orbit. And as a testament to how effective that laser bombardment is, I am now detecting no xenoflora anywhere in the world. I have the high ground, I can still shell targets, will zap them, so to speak, but I'm now no longer seeing any xenoflora everywhere. This thing was eliminating them incredibly quickly with that 7.2 meter laser. So yeah, apparently all you need for a good environmental policy is orbital laser cannons. All right, here's the assault carrier. Let's see where it's landing. Rabat. All right, I think we can work with that. 1 second. Okay, I think that's all organized. So, despite the fact that Morocco is controlled by the servants, they're still allied to the United States and North America, meaning our army should have access. So I've got the entire US military making its way over. They should arrive before the aliens disembark, unless anything's changed. The 101st doesn't have a navy, but I had that sitting at almost complete, just for efficiency's sake. So we'll get the US to quickly finish that navy, push the 101st over, and while we haven't done many tech upgrades, I think if next cycle I switch Elaine with his 15-16 command over, I'll do some org shuffling and some leveling. If I push him over to the US, that should give a little bit of an additional boost. And I want to get these guys fighting. They'll be fighting as like they're almost level 5. They'll be fighting at like 4.95, but there'll be a swarm of them. And I'm hoping that, plus the 50% of weakness for aliens disembarking, plus the fact this is rugged terrain, which gives a bonus to the defenders, means we should be able to slap them with the US military, even though it's mostly operating at, it's basically 2022 plus standard. So that's the plan. Swarm the armies over, deal with the assault carrier on landing, and then hope that the other factions who need Hydra prisoners appreciate why I'm doing this for them. There we go. Alien warship lands on Earth. The aliens appear to have moved to the next stage of their plan for Earth. This is no midnight visitation or surreptitious abduction. This is an open declaration that they are here and they are powerful. We believe they're preparing to deploy an army of alien war machines, our visitors having dispensed with all attempts at subterfuge and arriving in Earth en masse, in plain sight and conspicuously well armed. Whether this show of force is intended to be a deterrent or is but a vanguard of a full-scale invasion may well depend upon humanity's response to it. There we are. There's the landed assault carrier. 30 days to stop it. Awesome. The one thing I've noticed, and this is apparently still the case, is that assault carrier landing has a very polarizing impact on international popularity. We look at global opinion. It's massively shifted in favor of the servants. Basically, countries where the servants were in control, I've seen this before, countries where pro-alien factions are in control see the assault carrier landing and go, hooray, the aliens are here to save us. And everyone's like, woo, isn't this awesome? And people in countries that have anti-alien factions are like, oh no, the aliens are here. Shit, we need to stop them. So there you go. Massive opinion swing. Let's see if it changes again once we welcome these guys to Earth properly. And in amidst all that, we have space-based retaliation happening as well. I think because I'm not sure whether 125 is too high or I'm too cheeky, but they have gone for the giant space gun, Task Force Iron. I have a trick I'm going to attempt here, and I don't know if it's going to work. But let me set it up, and then I'll show you the faceplant or the resulting success. Because what is that force? A monitor, an escort, and a monitor. Let me try something. Okay, so here's what I've done. I undocked the monitors and merged them with the GDI battlecruiser, and we'll now see if Alien Fleet Victor 113, with its slight combat power advantage, feels like a fight. Both fleets are willing to fight. Well, they did attack me. But I think you know which way this is going to go. What have we got? Oh, we got torpedo bays. We are hiding behind the station. Yeah, we got 2 laser boats and 2 torpedo escorts. This is actually not bad. This is a setup that is touching on something a player might do. You have your torpedo launchers and then you have your PD boats. And they have a lot of PD. That said, we got a lot of torpedoes and 1 big laser cannon. I think I can make this work. Okay, so apparently I don't get to hide behind the station this time, but that's okay. We can still work with this. Most of what we're using here is Athenas with a mixture of Olympus worked in. I think the key here is we're not going to be able to stop the torpedo launchers from getting all their torpedoes in the air. So killing them immediately isn't a priority. First torpedoes can go onto the PD boats, and then we can worry about cleaning up the escorts that don't have any torpedoes left. Because I don't think I'm going to be able to stop the torpedoes coming in. I also don't think I'm going to have enough PD to hold them back, but you know, we'll see what happens. We're getting within firing range. They're maneuvering. Let's get launching. I'm going to priority target everything. And then the idea is I'm going to go 2 and 2. In fact, I might even go, yeah, let's go 2 and 2 to start with. 2. Got some jamming, so we'll go 1 more. Great. Priority target the other monitor. 1, 2, 3. Now we'll be firing mostly Athenas, but these guys don't have any point defense. 1, 2. Iron Tree. 1, 2. That should be pretty good. Everyone clear priority targets. We got everything in the air. 40 mils firing, lasers are firing, PD's firing. I think this monitor is done. It looks like it still has 2 Athenas left, so let's target the Dark Wanderer. Our missile swarm is going to take longer to get there than theirs, but as you can see, it's basically 21st century fleet defense technology at the moment. 40 mils firing, point-blank range engagements against a lot of incoming. Ouch. That's our first torpedo impact. And as you can see, those alien torps hurt. There's 1 ship down. Their torpedoes will attempt to retarget, but most of them should overshoot. Beautiful. That's a lot of their ordnance wasted. I was missing the nuke hits on the big boats. Beautiful. All right. We lost a monitor. Might even have lost 2 monitors. But we splashed a bunch of incoming at a point where I was going to retire these ships and replace them with battleships anyway. And most importantly, I think we probably got exotics off that. We lost 3 monitors. I thought it was 2, including the Australis. All right, 3 monitors lost, not 2. Maroon, you're wrong. We traded 3 of our monitors for 2 of their much larger monitors and 2 of their escorts. Ours are in the 5,000 ton range. Theirs are in the 13,000. I'm going to call this a win mostly because I got exotics and these were ships I was going to decommission anyway. A little bit of salvage. I'll take it. Aliens lost 4 ships. Project Exodus lost 3 ships. I'm also now lower on mission control, obviously, because some of the monitors have been wrecked. I'll repair this fleet, get it back to port. We're not containing the alien fleet growth. They're still at 123, but it's something. Now let's see how we fare on the ground with the US military. And the aliens must be feeling confident because we have another assault carrier incoming with a smaller escort fleet due in November 2031. Meaning if we can deal with the initial waves, this might be our first candidate for an assault carrier that never makes it to the surface. And as if to confirm my issue with Mercury and why I'm building all those surface shipyards, I've just got a notification that Victor 90 is heading straight for fallback station, which is not currently defended other than a couple of layered defense arrays, which I don't believe will be able to hold back a fleet of that size. So here we are. As far as I can see, I am below the hate cap. I don't have a red bar, but here we are. Fallback station, 4 layered defense arrays up against these guys. I guess I'll fight it out, but I think this is a hopeless battle against a fleet of that sort of power, especially with all these plasma batteries that tend to do pretty well against human defense stations. Okay, our Mercury station is gone, but that doesn't mean we can't win the diplomacy game back home. This is Mr. Banerjee of the Protectorate. I'm going to trade him a bunch of useless technologies that he will then hopefully waste research producing. All these extra drives I'm dumping science into, which is a massive waste for me, is actually proving really helpful diplomatically because I can give useless techs to people I don't like, which they then have to research and gain nothing out of, in exchange for things that actually matter. Like, Boost, or this 3-star research organization, which will lift my life sciences org bonus exactly from 35 to 50. So, and considering we have to do colony habs and then ring habs, I'll take that bonus. So thank you very much. Off we go. Military looks like it should be dealing with the invaders in Morocco. This is obviously the first of 2 assault carriers. Salvage Bay will want that. Let's just let these last alien armies complete. We've got mine upgrades happening everywhere. Good to see the resources coming back up, considering we're about to need them, I think. We'll set that as favourite 2. And there you go. Okay, alien armies defeated. I'm going to take that as an opportunity to have a look around the world, do a little bit of a stock take, and decide where we go from here. So give me a moment. Okay, I missed something, and I think it's going to be the place where we cut the episode for a reason. What I missed is that amidst the many alien fleets that have been cycling in and out of Earth's area, there was one that has gone for extreme Earth orbit, featuring one of these is labelled, there it is, the Gamma Burst, Red Star class cruiser in a system colony ship. I think that we're looking at another alien surveillance station about to be established in extreme Earth orbit. That's a problem. Because it means, unless we want to allow a fortified forward alien position to be established, in fact, let's just run the time forward because I think that's exactly what's about to happen. Yes. There we are. Oh, geez, and it's a tier 2. It's a tier 2. What have we got? Reactors and core, surveillance array, 2 surveillance arrays, 3 alien layered defense arrays, and 3 garrisons. So even if we had Marines, which we don't at the moment, storming this thing would be difficult, and 3 alien layered defense arrays is a lot to punch through. Okay. And 2 surveillance arrays. I'm not sure how many surveillance missions 2 arrays will do, but I imagine that's going to hurt. Okay, we got a choice to make. I think that even within the bounds of Exodus defensive strategy, you have to knock down surveillance stations. You can't allow the aliens to establish a forward refueling base, complete with surveillance technology, all that ISR in extreme Earth orbit. You can't allow that to happen. So I think we have to go knock this down. If the fleet, from past experience, what seems to happen is the aliens send some of the protecting ships home, but not all of them afterwards. I think we need to go knock this down. However, because it's a tier 2 station and it will have defending ships, that's going to cause a lot of hate, which means retaliation is coming. Now, I'm not sure we can go total war yet, and we don't have the tech to go total war yet. I was hoping to have all the technology I needed to fight late 2031, not late 2030. We're about a year off where I wanted to be able to fight. We're not there. But we might have to fight anyway, if not in total war sense, in a sense that we build up fleets and that we take as many defensive engagements as we possibly can, on the understanding that when we lose defending ships, we're still burning down hate that way, because I think this station is going to be worth a lot. To that end, I already had some ships in the pipeline just in case this kind of thing happened. We've just launched 2 new vessels, one around Mars, one around Earth, which is this very simple, relatively cheap ship called the Bridge-class battlecruiser. What this thing is basically an iteration of the old GDI class, which got decommissioned because we're just not mobile enough. This thing has the same massive forward laser, but it's actually got a little bit of mobility to it, and it has this thing, the flag bridge. The flag bridge reduces the mission control cost of the fleet that it's attached to by 20%. So we can actually fit more fleet within our existing cap. So we've attached those to the existing Earth fleet, and one will attach to the existing Mars fleet, which is quite small at the moment, but there are ships on the way. There are also our first Sunrise-class battleships and Aegis, which is the laser boat battleships, coming out at Mars. I think 3 of those are about to finish. We're working on one at Ceres, and Earth is gaining its first battleships. They're not very good battleships. They're very much test battleships because we don't have the armor, we don't have the defenses, etc. But we're getting a laser boat in 23 days and a missile battleship in 23 days. Okay, that'll put together enough of a fleet, I think, to go out and knock down that station, but defending Earth and all of its assets, difficult. Similar for Mercury. What I have done is activated all of those Mercury shipyards. I think there's 12 so far. Yeah. 11. What they're producing, for the most part, is these Militia Block 2 long range. It's the Militia class, but with a little more reach, such that those versions of the Militia can actually transfer from Mercury to Earth. So I think that's where we'll leave it, in the kind of messy middle of the game, if you will, where we don't have the technology to fight back fully, and we're not in full exotics harvesting mode from the aliens just yet. We're still trying to step back a little bit, but our hand is about to be forced with the major engagement in extreme Earth orbit, and we need to be prepared for at least making it a bit of a fight when the aliens come to make their displeasure known after that fact. After that all happens, it's a question of whether we escalate slowly through defensive war into total war, or whether we try and, if it goes wrong, we can always hunker down again. We can take the losses, take the L, let the hate burn down, rebuild, and then once we have the new layer of technology, go at them again. Final technology note. I said I'd research every engine, and that includes really, really expensive engines when they pop. Poseidon Lantern is a very low probability project, as I believe. View full tree. The Poseidon Lantern and Poseidon Torch are low probability technologies. I had a 58% chance, and I have been gunning the unlocked percentage chances, and I got it. It comes off advanced vision systems, which we did. So I now have to research Poseidon Lantern for 35,000 science, and there is a 58% chance that it goes for the successor engine, which costs 150,000 science. So if that 58% chance pops when we eventually get magnetic nozzles, that's going to be a heck of a very, very, very demanding engine choice. But hey, it will give us something which, while also being very fissiles hungry, as you can see from that 2 fissiles per propellant tank, the performance is going to be pretty good. We're up to 6 exhaust velocity and a massive 20 thrust for an engine that uses open cycle cooling. So we're keeping all of our ships relatively light and the radiators relatively small. I hope you're enjoying. I'll leave it there for the moment, and I'll be back soon with the major engagement in extreme Earth orbit, plus the second assault carrier landing. Hopefully, once again, somewhere the US military can readily access.